Hello, this is the Bible in fewer words. We are Carol and Steve Wells. This is episode 147, 2 Kings, chapters 3 and 4. If you enjoy this podcast and the Skeptic's Annotated Bible website, consider supporting us at patreon.com/BFW. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Carol.
We're moving along in Kings.
Yeah. Last episode, we had Elisha. Some kids made fun of his bald head.
Yes. Granted, that was not very nice of them to do that, but they're children. And
they
children
do that kind
that.
of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he cursed in the name of the Lord, and God sent 2 bears that ripped the 42 children apart.
Took care of that.
Yeah.
So now we're just going to keep on going with Elisha.
Right. Chapter 3, verse 1. Ahab and Jezebel's son Jehoram became king of Israel after Ahab died.
I remember Ahab dying.
Yeah.
He did evil in God's sight, but he removed the image of Baal that Ahab had made. Oh, so now we're talking about Jehoram.
Yeah. When Ahab died, the king of Moab rebelled against Israel. Israel, Judah, and Edom agreed to fight against Moab, but there wasn't enough water for the army, so they asked Elisha to help. So there's a lot going on here.
Yes, there is.
So they previously defeated Moab, a country to the east of Israel.
Not just the nice rock formation in Utah.
It's a national park.
So the king of Moab
Had rebelled, so they used to be sort of subject to the king of Israel, and now they're misbehaving. They're rebelling. They're not going to pay your taxes anymore.
Okay, and so Jehoram's going to take care of them.
Right, and he's united with Judah.
Oh.
And also Edom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're all uniting together to fight against Moab.
Because they don't want to pay taxes.
Yeah, but there's not enough water for the army, so they ask Elisha for help.
Okay, I got it. Why ask me? Go ask the prophets of your parents, Ahab and Jezebel. Oh, go ask Baal.
Yeah. But since Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, is here, I'll help you. Bring me a minstrel.
Like a musician?
Yeah, he wants somebody to sing.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So when the minstrel played, the hand of God came upon Elisha, and he said,
This is what God says. Fill the valley with ditches, because the valley will be filled with water. God will deliver the Moabites into your hand, and you will smite every city, chop down every good tree, and destroy its wells and land.
Well, that'd make it a profitable place for him later. A lot of people paying tax there.
God's going to help him defeat them.
So the next morning, the valley was filled with water.
The Israelites smote the Moabites, destroying their cities, land, and wells, and they chopped down all the good trees.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
In an attempt to stop the Israelites from destroying Moab, the king offered his eldest son as a burnt offering on the wall, and the Israelites went back to their own land.
Yeah, so it sounds like maybe it worked.
So they didn't do all those horrible things.
No, they did. They did the horrible things. But the guy, while he was trying to stop them from doing it,
Okay.
sacrificed his eldest son. Maybe it worked. I don't know. Anyway, the Israelites left. But it sounds like they'd already done their destroying. So that's all it says about that.
Okay. So chapter 4. A wife of a son of a prophet said to Elijah, okay, I'm going to need my whiteboard again.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of prophets and sons of prophets, and this is the wife of one of them.
Okay. My husband died. Oh, so the son of the prophet died. That's her husband.
Uh-huh.
He owed money to someone who wants to take my sons as payment. Oh my gosh.
Elisha said to her, Go borrow as many pots as you can from your neighbors. When you get home, fill all the pots with oil.
So she did that. And Elisha said, Go sell the oil, pay your debt, and live happily ever after with your children. Well, that sounds like a fairy tale.
It's a good plan, isn't it?
Yes.
Good plan. These are just stories. They are haphazardly arranged. I didn't do it. It's all here in chapter 4.
Okay. And verse 8. Elisha met a rich woman in Shunem. She asked him to eat bread with her. So, whenever he passed by, he stopped in for some bread. One day she said to her husband,
"This man seems like a holy man to me. Let's make him a little room to stay in."
An Airbnb, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So the next time Elisha stopped by, he stayed in the room.
Elisha said to her, "You've been kind to me. Is there something I can do for you?"
And the woman said, "No thanks. I have what I need."
Elisha then asked his servant Gehazi, what could be done for her? Gehazi said,
Well, her husband is old, and she has no child. What?
Yeah. Elisha told Gehazi to call her. When she arrived, he said to her,
Soon you'll get pregnant and have a son.
The woman answered, No, I won't. Don't lie to me.
And the woman conceived and had a son.
Yeah, another miraculous birth.
Immaculate conception.
Maybe it wasn't miraculous. His husband was old, but maybe Elijah or Gehazi took care of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. She had a son.
So verse 18. One day, after the boy was grown, his head began to hurt.
He died in his mother's lap.
Aw.
Yeah.
She took her dead son and laid him on Elisha's bed, closed the door, and left. Like, yeah, a lot of good that did me to have a kid, and now he's dead.
Yeah. Then she got on a donkey and went to visit Elisha on Mount Carmel.
When she found him, she grabbed him by the feet and said, Did I ask you for a son?
She grabbed him by the feet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she really, kind of prostrated herself and grabbed his feet, kind of angry, saying, Hey, why did you do this to me?
Yeah, cursed feet also has another meaning.
Yes, yes, and maybe she did that.
I don't know. She grabbed him by the feet.
Elisha said to his servant Gehazi, Gird up your loins. Leave me alone with my loins, but gird up your loins and take my staff to the woman's house. When you get there, lay it on the face of the dead boy.
Yeah. One thing that I should mention here is that they're going back and forth between Shunem and Mount Carmel.
Oh, so this is kind of on their way.
That's a long walk. It's about 20 miles or so.
Oh.
So every time that she's going, okay, the son dies, so she travels to Mount Carmel, tells Elisha about it, and then Elisha is sending Gehazi back to Shunem again.
Mm-hmm. It says, bring this staff and lay this staff on top of the body.
Right. So in verse 31 it says, Gehazi went back to Shunem and laid Elisha's staff on the dead boy's face. But nothing happened. So he traveled back to Mount Carmel and said to Elisha, the boy is still dead.
He's still dead.
Didn't work.
And the longer it takes for you guys to make these trips back and forth like that, he's going to be dead longer.
He's going
to
really
start
dead.
smelling.
Yeah.
Elisha went back to Shunem and confirmed that the boy was dead. He shut the door and laid down on top of the dead boy's body. Okay, this is getting, there's a lot of bizarre stories. I think this one ranks right up there.
Then he put his mouth on the boy's mouth, his eyes on the boy's eyes, and his hands on the boy's hands, and stretched himself out on the boy's body.
I want to know if you changed any of these words.
No, that's exactly what he did. And the boy's body waxed warm.
Okay, so we're thinking 20 miles, probably a couple days back and forth. He's been dead probably a couple weeks.
Yeah, well, at
best.
least a week, I'd say. But now his body's kind of cold, I suppose. Well, now it's warming up. It waxed warm. After he laid on him like that.
So he stretched himself upon him one more time.
Yeah.
Then the boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes.
Sneezed 7 times, yeah. And opened his eyes.
Chew. Like that.
Well, I guess it's to show that he's alive. Dead men don't sneeze. Dead bodies don't sneeze.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Elisha called the boy's mom, and she took her son and went out. Like, what the heck did you do to him? That's probably what she's thinking.
Yeah. She probably doesn't want to know.
No.
So that's the end of that story.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, verse 38. Elisha went to Gilgal. He said to the son of the prophets, Make me some stew in a big pot.
So one of them made some stew out of wild vines and gourds.
As they were eating, one of them cried out, "O man of God, there is death in this pot."
I felt like that sometimes.
Yeah.
When I was serving dinner. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
But Elisha said, "Bring the meal and let's eat." And there was nothing wrong with the stew.
That's the end of that story.
That's just a silly story, but
It's just a silly story, but there was nothing wrong with the stew. So people made the stew, and they said, "Oh, this kind
rank.
of stinks.
Yeah.
It's something dead in this stew." And
Elijah
said, "Bring it here and let's eat." And I think what happened was, you see, it was really foul stuff. But then Elijah said, "Bring it here." And he made it good.
He fixed it.
Yeah, he fixed it.
Oh,
So that's what
a
happened.
miracle.
Yeah.
So nobody died.
Either that or people just don't want to complain. If Elijah says there's nothing wrong with the stew, there's nothing wrong with the stew.
Okay, verse 42. A man from Elisha came with 20 barley loaves and some grain. Elisha said, "Give it to the people so they can eat."
His servant said, "There's not enough here to feed 100 men."
But Elisha said, "Go ahead and serve them, because God says, they will eat and there will be leftovers."
And the 100 men ate, and there were plenty of leftovers, according to the word of the Lord.
That word of the Lord.
What
About
does this
50% of the time, it's right.
What does this remind you of, though? Something from the New Testament?
Oh, yes, God and loaves and multiplying. I mean, Jesus.
Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah, Jesus fed several thousand people.
On 5 loaves of bread and 3 fish or something.
Something like that, yeah. But it was much more impressive. He had just a couple little fish.
And
some
thousands of
loaves
people.
bread.
Yes.
Thousands of people. Here he has 20 loaves of bread and 100 people. That doesn't sound so out of line. Right?
You're right. Hey, you guys, you only get half a piece of bread each.
Well, they get 4 slices depending on how big the
loaves are. Yeah.
or hunk of bread, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, it all worked out, and they had plenty to eat.
All right. Well, these stories are kind of, I can take them, I think. I can. They're bizarre, but it's not like, oh my gosh, they're just killing all these gazillion people.
Oh no,
But the first one was they went to that town
uh-huh.
and just kind of killed people.
Right.
Okay, well, I think we're done here.
We are.
Thanks for sharing, Steve.
Sure.
And thanks, listeners. See you next time.
Bye-bye.